Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Once again, we are in my darkened living room, but I'm trying to illuminate things. So, I don't know why you all want so much light on my face, but this is what I do for you. I'm also using the fact that this is a Halloween-y video to do whatever the fuck I want with my makeup, so that's fun. We're just gonna do a fun little Halloween-y video where I talk about spooky, horror-esque books that I think you might like to read. And I might also throw in a few of my favorite horror movies as well, just to spice things up. Will I ever frame the shot? Who knows? It's a Halloween mystery. By the way, if you want to get spoopy with Spider, my ace pride spider, he is here. Have fun together, me and Spider. I'm just gonna kind of look through my Goodreads, which is right over here, and remind myself what spooky books I have read. So let's just have a look-see and find out what we have. The first one on my list kind of only marginally qualifies as a spooky book because it has zombies in it, and that book is The Bone Houses, which is one of my new favorite books, possibly of all time. Partially because it has zombies in it, but also it's Welsh and there's a goat. The Bone Houses is the story of a girl who lives in a small Welsh village where the dead keep coming back from the forest, and her job is to deal with them, to get them, to chop them up, and to burn them. And everything seems fine, but more and more dead are starting to appear, and the village is in big trouble. Obviously things go down, everything is not as it seems. It's great. I really enjoyed it. I love the Welshness of it. I like the characters. The goat was great. And you guys know I am here for anything zombies. Can't you? If you are looking for something cute and Halloween-y, there is a little graphic novel that I read last year called Pumpkinheads. I have a review of it. I will have reviews of almost all of the books I'm going to be talking about, so feel free to go look through my backlog and check them out, see what I thought in depth of all of these things. I didn't love Pumpkinheads. It's a really cute little story of two people who work at one of those fall-themed, I don't know what to call them, like farms. They're not really farms, but you go there and you pick apples and you pick pumpkins and you go on a hayride and you buy way too many pies, you know, that kind of place. We got them all over Wisconsin. And they work there, and it's their last night, and possibly the last night they'll even see each other because they're all going to be going away to school. So it's just kind of their friendship, maybe more than a friendship. Who knows? It didn't do anything special, but if you're looking for something very fluffy and very autumn/Halloween-y, it might be the thing for you. Last year I also read Pet Sematary by Stephen King. Some of you, if you've been following me for a while, may know that I just don't necessarily love Stephen King. I know that's blasphemy in the book world, and you can probably use that to judge me in a number of exciting ways. But Pet Sematary? I liked it. I liked it. It didn't have many of the problems that I have with King's even longer books. Like, I read it, and it just about killed me. And I tried The Shining and gave up. But I actually enjoyed Pet Sematary. I think King's slow build style really lent itself to a story like this, which is a consideration of death. This is the story of a family that moves to a new house in Maine, because of course it's Maine. And when they're there, they discover that there is a nearby pet cemetery, like on their land or near their land. But beyond that, there is a second, even spookier cemetery, where if you bury something, it tends to come back. And I'm not going to tell you too much about it. Obviously, you probably know that a cat gets buried there because we've all seen the cover of the book. But I'm not going to tell you too much besides that. If you are looking for something with a very slow build, where you know what's probably going to happen, but you're still sitting there relishing every moment that it's not happening. Does that make sense? Where you're just like, it's coming. Oh my gosh, it's coming. And the more it doesn't happen, the more tense I get. That is Pet Sematary. Plus, it's a really interesting exploration of death and how different people deal with death. So definitely check it out if you're interested in a slow burn horror. The next book I want to talk about is called Slade House. The style of this book is a bit different, and it's not going to be a hit for everybody. I really enjoyed it, but I know some people probably are not going to, partially just because of the style. There isn't really a main character or a main storyline. It's mostly about this house, Slade House, which potentially has some sort of entity or entities inside of it. This house only appears occasionally, and when it does, it's bad news for whoever goes inside. And basically, most of this book is just following the people who are ending up in the house. So it's more like a collection of short stories that all kind of end in a terrible way for the people that are in them. So I enjoyed following each of these characters for however brief a time we followed them before they were consumed by the house. And I also really like stories with sort of an inscrutable evil, an evil that we humans can't control, can't fathom, can't defeat, and that's definitely a factor here in Slade House. So if that's something you're looking for, check this out. Let's take a little break and talk about some movies that I like. Scary movies. I don't watch a lot of Halloween-y movies, not scary ones or funny ones too much, none that are really themed around Halloween. So we're just going to be talking about spoopy movies that I enjoy. First of all, I absolutely love anything with practical effects, so if it's got practical effects, I am there. I especially am very fond of older sort of thriller horror, such as The Thing and Alien. Those are two of my absolute favorites. I definitely like to feel like the creature is like there, it's present, it could get the actors, versus like CGI, you could just tell that it's not in the room with them. Both of those movies are kind of old, and if you don't know too much about them by now, you probably have just been living under a rock. But I think of the two, The Thing is my favorite. Do be warned though, if you go into that movie, it is going to be very gory and unsettling, which I am here for. Not in a slasher way. It's not like there's blood spewing everywhere, but the monsters and creatures. The chest burster scene from Alien dialed up to 11 happening here. I grabbed a few of my other favorites just over from the little like horror section in my DVD area. First we have The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. It's got a little holographic cover here. Yes, I got it on sale. This is the 1978 version, and in my opinion, the definitive Invasion of the Body Snatchers version. If you want something that's actually scary, this one is the one for you. It is about aliens that come to Earth and they can duplicate humans, except for our emotions. It's well acted, and boy, is it unsettling. If you're looking for an unsettling, tense movie, this version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers is the one for you. Next, we have a weird little movie that nobody's ever heard of. It's called Pontypool. I need to rewatch it, but like, after watching it once, I was so sort of freaked out that I didn't want to watch it again. And not because it was bad, but because I was just like, I didn't know what to do with it. It is a zombie movie, but it is so different from other zombie movies, and that's mostly because you don't even see any zombies. The zombies aren't the scary part. Well, they are, but in this, if I'm remembering correctly, it's actually been a little while, the main characters are trapped in a radio station when the apocalypse breaks out, and so they are essentially broadcasting but also taking calls from and listening to the zombie apocalypse happening outside. And it's just very tense. I think very tense situations are a go-to for me. Obviously, with my horror, I like to feel dread. I'm here to dread with my horror, and this definitely also fits the bill. So if you are a fan of zombies, but you're sick of all of the usual zombie fare, definitely check out Pontypool. If you're brave, watch it in the dark, but honestly, I would watch this with the lights on. Now let's talk about a movie that's so bad it's good. A horror classic that I just enjoy because it's me. Like, this is such a me thing. But if you're anything like me, you might also like Stay Alive. This is not gonna hit the same for everybody. This is especially not gonna hit the same if you're like younger than me. This is definitely a cheesy horror movie for my not only age group, but also for gamers. This is the story of some teens, or possibly 20-somethings, really don't remember, but I need to rewatch it again, who get to participate in a beta for a brand new game, and of course, the game is like leeching into their world, and of course, when you die in the game, you die in real life. Why wouldn't you? But this finds such a good balance for me of mildly creepy, but also very cheesy in a very specific way. So if you're a lot younger than me, you're probably gonna think this is the stupidest thing you've ever seen in your life. But if you are a sort of middle of the age range millennial or a little older, I think this is gonna be a hit for you. You just like go along with it, go along for the ride. Remember those times when video games were kind of like this? The fact that it's in a video game kind of gives a lot of excuse for why there's any bad CGI that you might be seeing, and there is a scene in here that I feel is legitimately creepy involving a controller. I'm not gonna tell you what, but like if you just let yourself get into it, it's legitimately creepy. And it has Malcolm from Malcolm in the Middle in it, so what else could you ask for? The last two scary movies I want to talk about, and then we're going to go back to books. These movies do another thing that I find that I like in horror, and that is subvert tropes. So the first one that I'm going to talk about is Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which is a subversion of slasher films. This one is more of a comedy, and it takes so many tropes from slasher films and just messes with them in a humorous way, but also you really like get into it and feel for Tucker and Dale, the two main characters. I'm not going to tell you too much about this one because you should just really go watch it. I don't know why, but Kinshu is just like cleaning her butt right behind me, so that's great. It is gory because, again, slasher, but it also has Alan Tudyk in it, and Alan Tudyk is a treasure and I love him, so you should definitely check out Tucker and Dale versus Evil. However, the one I like even more is, you probably heard of it, Cabin in the Woods, which obviously dissects those sort of isolated cabin, teenagers go to a cabin and bad things happen type of movies. This one is also gory, not as gory as Tucker and Dale, so be ready for that. It also has the snappy writing of Joss Whedon. Joss Whedon, my problematic fave. The guy spends too much time writing on his success rather than learning and growing as a person, but damn, I am just addicted to his writing, and it is on display here. I absolutely recommend that you check out Cabin in the Woods. I'm not going to tell you much about it, again, because the fun is seeing for the first time what this movie is doing. Okay, that's enough movies. Let's get back to books. Next up, we have my best friend's Exorcism. If you are in the mood for an exorcism book, I think this one was a hit. I didn't love everything about it, and honestly, I actually think that it built a little bit too slowly for me, which, considering the other things that I liked and their slow builds, I'm surprised. But this one just kind of went a little bit too slow with me. Also, there is a lot of body horror in it, so if you are not into body horror, which includes bodily fluids, maybe give this one a miss. This is obviously the story of a girl who is dealing with her best friend who appears to be going through a demon possession. Is it a demon possession? Is it not? Gonna have to read it to find out, because I'm not gonna tell you. There is a dog. There is a dog. So, and we know what happens to dogs in books. That stuff notwithstanding, because the friendship is really cool, and also seeing it from the point of view of a friend of someone who may or may not be possessed by a demon is kind of a different take that we haven't really seen. I also enjoyed The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, which has very little in common with the Netflix series, but that's okay. Like, they are sort of their own creatures with the same name and some things in common. I did read this after watching this Netflix series because I was curious. Again, I have a review of it, so you want to check that out. Pretty sure I have a review of it. While I enjoyed it, while I read it, it didn't stick with me, but knowing that I enjoyed it, if you know my taste, can kind of give you a hint. The next book we're going to talk about is called Daughters Unto Devils. This is a period horror story, which I actually don't see too often, especially ones that are set in during the time when everybody was like moving west. So this family is heading west and they find a cabin where they are planning to live, but it is like horrifying inside. Something went down in there, but the family cleans it up and moves in anyway, and then things slowly begin to happen. Winter comes on, and it especially followed the older daughter and what she's going through. There are a few things that I found like a little bit unbelievable, and not like the supernatural things, other things that are just kind of like, didn't do it for me. But again, if you want something that's kind of slow burn and kind of ominous and spooky, and you are looking for a period horror that's kind of not like all of the other ones out there, check out Daughters Unto Devils. I also enjoyed the Saw Kill Girls. This one is a bit hit or miss for people. People seem to either love it or hate it. And I definitely fall closer to the love it than hate it end, especially for the things that it explores. Like, as a story, I only thought that it was okay. The characters were kind of interesting. There were some queer characters to explore. But honestly, I really appreciated it more for what it was doing, what it was saying, the themes. It's about these girls who either move to or already live on this small, I think it's an island, where girls occasionally go missing and things start happening again, and they just kind of have to figure out what's going on, deal with each other and their personalities. I really liked the themes and exploration of women and girls in stories like this, and how they're usually treated and what kind of agency they're given. Spoilers, it's none. So if you really want something that's maybe a bit more thoughtful than I think a lot of people are giving it credit for, maybe check out Saw Kill Girls. I am skipping over some of my horror reads, so feel free to follow me on Goodreads if you want to check out other things that I've read. I'm mostly going with ones that I have more memory of. So let's talk about And Then They Were None by Agatha Christie. This one's a classic, and I thought it was okay. I did enjoy it while I was reading it, but when I got to the end, I actually found myself kind of disappointed. I prefer a mystery story where you can solve the mystery along with the characters, and this one didn't really do it for me. If you're not at all familiar with And Then There Were None, it's a story of a bunch of people, I think there are 7 of them, or 10 of them, that are brought together at a dinner party on this isolated island, and they can't leave, and they start to die. So they're trying to figure out which of them is a murderer in time to stop that murderer killing all of them. The one who turned out to be the murderer did turn out to be one of my guesses, but I'm not going to tell you which one. And I do, again, have a full review of this on my channel if you want to go check that out and see who I guessed. Here's a book that I have read a couple of times, although it's been a minute, and I enjoy it every time. It isn't necessarily a horror so much as, well, I don't know what to call it. It's a historical fiction, and it definitely has some elements. But if you're looking for something that's not so scary but still has like elements of potentially spooky things, check out, let me make sure I've got the title right, The Minister's Daughter. This is the story of a girl who works for the village cunning woman, but it's right at the time when Christianity is starting to take over and witches are starting to be burned, and so this girl and her teacher are in trouble because they sort of follow the old pagan ways. So there's witch trials in it, and there's things like that, and there's also the fae, and the fairyland is like still a big part of it because of the old beliefs. I really liked it mostly because the characters, especially the main character and then another character who comes along later, are so strong and endearing. I really connected with the main character and her friendship later. I think it's because she reads very asexual, and when I first read this, I don't think I even knew that I was asexual yet. So maybe if you are an asexual person and you want a ace reading character and you're also into the witch trials, this might be the book for you. And the final book I think I'm going to talk about is one of my all-time faves, and that is Coraline. Many of you are going to be like, oh yeah, I saw that movie. And Coraline, for a lot of people, tends to be their movie that they think is better than the book, but I stan the book. I enjoyed the movie, but honestly, I think the book was better. I know, what a surprising take. Reader thinks the book is better. Your minds are blown. But give it a chance. If you liked the movie, you'll probably like the book. I know a big thing for me, having read the book first, was that the horrible things that the book conjured in my mind, the horrifying creatures and visions and whatever, were way scarier than anything the movie could possibly provide, because my imagination is just bigger than what you can do with claymation, probably. So if you have watched the movie, you might end up feeling kind of maybe disappointed in the book because you already have these visions in your head of what things should look like. If you're not familiar, Coraline is the story of a girl who moves with her mother and father to a new house, a weird little new house, and she feels that she is being ignored by her parents. And then one day she finds a secret door to another world that might have parents that aren't ignoring her. But what's the catch? There's so much of a catch. I will say that I love the ending of the book so much. It definitely shows off how clever Coraline is. But I think I'm going to end here. I'm starting to get into more and more books that I don't remember what they were about. So yes, this is going to end it for me today. Side note, I also recommend listening to spooky things. I love listening to radio horror. If you are interested in some of the old-time radio stuff that I used to listen to, I have an old video about that, talking about some of my all-time favorite radio plays, and I think I have at least a couple in there that might still be a little bit spoopy. Please remember that I post new videos here Mondays and Fridays, and if you want stuff that's not seen here on the regular channel, you can check me out on my Patreon. Patrons also help me self-publish some books. I have one book that came out recently that's not spooky at all, which you can check out if you're looking for something that's not spooky to read this fall. You can check out The Wolf and the Hawk. It's a fantasy romance. Also, if you love zombies and you're interested in what my writing looked like several years ago, you can check out my book Phoenix, which is a coming-of-age story set against a zombie apocalypse. All the links to my social media are in the doobly-doo for ease of your clicking, and I will see you again next time with whatever it is I happen to be doing next time, hopefully in the daytime. Bye! Stop. Patron time. Patrick, Anne Sophie, Callison, Ray, Artemis, Shelby, Zaire, Jesper, Irene, Scribbling Cat, Savvy, Jenny, Amanda, Lisa, and Lennox. I can guarantee that you have never heard a better group of patrons in your entire life. I know because they're my patrons, so I'm an expert on this. Now carry on with your day, citizens. Follow, sweet children, I'll show thee the way through all the pain and the sorrows. Weep not, poor children, for life is this way.